Hey guys, it's your boy Davion. Welcome to my channel, and today I'm coming to you guys with a metaphysical video. I have been asked by a new subscriber of mine who emailed me about a week or two or three ago. I'm so sorry for the delay, but I was inboxed about astral projection and out-of-body experiences. So I'm going to respond to that particular email in this video and kind of go into depth about my experience with astral projection and soul travel. Astral projection is a out-of-body experience, or depending on what your school of thought is, a inner consciousness experience. A typical out-of-body experience or a astral projection experience is the experience of seeing your body below you or having a bird's eye view of your physical self and being able to explore other dimensions or even this current dimension in your astral body. Some would say traveling in your consciousness. These experiences have occurred throughout time. They're biblical, they're Buddhist, they're Islamic. You can find different degrees of astral projection and out-of-body experiences throughout all cultures, all times, all creeds. All spiritual leaders and gurus have had some experience or manifestation of astral projection or out-of-body experiences. Now, my experience with traveling outside of my body occurred when I was in my early 20s. I'm now 30. I want to say around the 22-23 era is when I started to have manifestations of astral projection. Some of you may have experienced sleep paralysis, or as in Western society we call that the old witch riding you. This is a experience where you are very consciously aware, but you are in a sleep state, or you're paralyzed and immobilized. You can't move, you can't speak, but you may be able to hear and may be able to think, but you cannot do anything at all. You're just there in sleep paralysis. Sometimes you may feel like a heavy weight is on top of you. You may feel like you're falling. You may feel like you're lifting. You may feel a presence during this time. It can be a very horrifying experience. And most Americans who deal with sleep paralysis are very afraid of the experience. But sleep paralysis is a very natural occurrence. The melatonin in our brain is released, which is a chemical that's responsible for paralyzing the body during the REM state of sleep. This keeps you from sleepwalking and reenacting your dreams in real time. Now, I tend to, for whatever reasons, naturally wake up in sleep paralysis state. Instead of me staying asleep, I happen to wake up and become conscious. Now, for a long time, I of course thought that the old hag was riding me. I thought maybe this was some type of spiritual attack or some type of demonic oppression. For years, as a teenager, from about 16 to about the time I had my first out-of-body experience, which was around 22, I used to pray before I go to bed. I would have my family pray for me because I come from a very Orthodox Christian family. I would try to protect myself against the sleep paralysis experience because I didn't understand what it was and what was happening to me, so I just assumed that it was something negative. I mean, what other reason would you be waking up totally paralyzed and conscious and feeling helpless? So it seemed like a negative experience, therefore I assumed that it was a negative experience. I had a good friend named Darren who was very studious when it came to metaphysical and supernatural matters, and he said to me one day on the phone, he said, maybe you are experiencing astral projection. I had never heard of astral projection at this point in my life. I had heard of near-death experiences vaguely, but it was something that I had never really looked into, and I never knew anyone else to ever have reported having an out-of-body experience. So he said, the next time that you experience sleep paralysis, I want you to just relax and just give in to the experience. He said you may feel vibrations, you may hear sounds, and you may begin to feel yourself lift up out of your body, and just continue to relax through the experience, and you should manage to be outside of your own physical body. And so this idea and concept really blew my mind. Now, I have always had supernatural experiences, so I was really excited to see if this was what was happening to me. I had already experienced angelic rescue, angelic presences. I had a lot of psychic experiences in my life, a lot of intuition and prophetic dreams, a lot of clairvoyance, hearing voices. I had been through a gamut and a array of spiritual manifestations in my life. So I was really curious as to, could you really travel outside of your physical self? Like, can you really project your soul or your spirit or your consciousness from your body temporarily and explore the earth plane or any other dimension for that matter? So I was really stoked to do this. And about 3 days later, I had went to bed and woke up in sleep paralysis. And immediately I started to fight the experience, because that was my natural reaction to sleep paralysis, was to fight myself awake. But I quickly remembered what my friend Darren told me about just relaxing into the experience, and that this might be an opportunity for me to explore the world outside of my body, where I would be able to travel by thought, I could pass through walls, and I could even possibly make contact with God. So I was in bed, I was paralyzed, and I just began to relax my entire body. I didn't fight the paralysis. I allowed myself to become one with the paralysis. I allowed my mind and my emotions to settle into the experience. I removed the fear, and immediately I felt vibrations. My whole body was just buzzing from head to toe all over, and it was very intense. It feels like electrical shocks, but just painless. I mean, I was just vibrating, and I felt like a rocket that was about to take off. And as I'm feeling these vibrations just surge through all of my being, I could hear this buzzing sound. It sounded like thousands of buzzing bees just buzzing all around me. What I now know is static, which is the sound of the universe, or the sound of spirit. And as I'm feeling the vibrations and I'm hearing the static, I begin to feel myself lift upward. Very gently, but I could feel this magnetic pull, that something was drawing me, provoking me out of my self, out of my body. And before I knew it, I felt myself snatched, almost like raptured. And I could feel myself traveling at this really incredible speed. It felt like the speed of light I was traveling. And I was traveling through this void. And I saw this tunnel of stars open up in front of me. And I was traveling through this vortex. And these stars were brilliant. There were multicolored stars, and they were spinning in a spiral. And then all of a sudden I heard a pop or a click, and there was pure silence. And once there was silence, I no longer felt the sensation of the world around me. I didn't even feel my body. I felt weightless. I wasn't even breathing. I was just existing. I was just present. I was eternal. And as I'm in this state, my visual field begins to clear, and I see a body down below me. And as I focus in on this body, I realize it's me. At this moment, I felt like my spirit must have turned pale white. Because once I realized that I was bouncing up against the ceiling of my bedroom, gazing down upon my sleeping physical self, the fear of this experience was so traumatizing that immediately I felt myself yanked back into my body, like just slammed back into my body. I woke up so abruptly, and I just remember flying out of my bed and getting on the phone with my grandmother and crying profusely because I was so terrified. I was in a state of awe. I was in a state of shock. I felt like someone had took my entire world and just ripped it from under me and redefined everything that I ever knew, from my religion to my perception of reality. It was just completely mind-boggling. And that was the beginning of many transcendental experiences. What I want to say to my subscriber who emailed me about astral projection, and to anybody who is interested in soul travel or astral projection or out-of-body experiences, is that these are very powerful experiences that have the potential to really transform your consciousness, transform your way of thinking, transform your awareness. These are experiences that will bring you into a deeper layer and a deeper understanding of the universe, of God, of the spirit realm, of science. These are things that really can draw you closer to God if that is something that you're wanting for yourself. Since 8-9 years ago, I'm 30 now, I have such a metaphysical relationship to my reality. I have evolved in my Christianity, even though I don't like to use the term Christian because I don't like what that represents in this day and age. I do not approve of the behavior and the lack of progress the church has made spiritually. So I don't like to necessarily title myself as Christian, but Christ is my centerpiece in terms of my values, my morals, my ethics, in terms of my spirituality. And these things have drew me closer to Christ. I have been able to see the universalism of Christ in Buddhism, in the New Age movement, in paganism, in all these other religions. I can see God in places that I couldn't see God. I can hear God in things that I could not hear God in before. Having these experiences have definitely grew me up dramatically and evolved me as a spiritual person, as a man, as a soul. And I would not ever take back the privilege of having these type of experiences, because it took my faith from a faith to a knowingness, to a knowledge of. I no longer have to have faith in God. I have verified personal evidence in my life to support the idea and the knowledge and the belief of God. I no longer have to have faith in another world beyond this, in heaven or in some multi-dimensional layered reality, because I have knowledge. I have first-hand verified account experience of this other dimension. And that has been something that is acted as a foundation to my strength. It's acted as a foundation to help me endure life, to put life into perspective, and to put myself into perspective. So I would say that astral projection is a wonderful way to take your relationship to spirit to whole other heights. I will say that there are some cautions to astral projection. You should study and read everything you can before trying to initiate this experience. I read every book in the library. I Googled, Yahooed, I talked to every person I could think of who might have known something about the spirit world, about out-of-body experiences, before I ever allowed myself to give in to sleep paralysis and to eventually astral project. So I would say, for one, educate yourself. Educate yourself, listen to every video, listen to every person, and do your own personal research. You never want to get involved or participate in anything that you don't have as much knowledge about as you possibly can, especially when it comes to spiritual matters, because spiritual matters can be very complex and can be very complicated, and you just need to always make sure that you are prepared and that you know enough about what's going on to make your exit, to make your entry, and that you can just have those tools available to you to know what to do regarding anything that may transpire because of these experiences or during these experiences. And I would also say, do this if you're really ready for this. If you're really ready for this, God will guide you, God will be with you, but God will not remove your fear. Your fear has to be present when it comes to giving into spiritual matters, because this is how our faith is activated. So you will always have a fear, a natural born instinctive fear about things, because you have an ego, you have a flesh, you have a carnal self that is very flesh based, very 3D based, very right now, right here based. And it does not have any entry and transcending the physical dimension. So anytime that you are in practices of yoga or in meditation, there will be levels of fear and anxiety that may try to be present, but that's all a protective mechanism of the ego. Do not listen to it, do not give in to it. You are safe, you are spiritual first before you are flesh. You are soul first before you are flesh. So the spiritual dimension is ours, it's our home, it's our rightful place. This is the realm in which we pass through in order to incarnate into our physical selves. I will also recommend that any fears, any strong phobias, any chronic fears you have about anything, you might want to start working on those things prior to having astral projection experiences, because the astral plane is a very thought-based plane, but the astral world is a very layered world. So you can go higher up into the higher vibrational realms, like realms that we would call heaven or nirvana. They come in degrees, but the base layer of the spirit world is the astral plane, and it can be very thought responsive. So if you fear demons, you fear monsters, you fear ghouls and goblins, these are things that you can mentally create during these experiences that may make your experience more nightmarish or more hellish or more uncomfortable than what you would like them to be. So just make sure that when you go for your astral projection experience, that you are as calm and relaxed, and that you are thinking as positively as you can, so that you can have a healthy projection and you can have a healthy experience that can be very enlightening for you. Now, I will continue to do videos on astral projection and go more in depth with these experiences and all of the different things that I have experienced during my time as an astral projector. And if you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the link below, or you can email me at davionaugustus@yahoo.com. I am more than happy to answer any questions and to speak about anything regarding the spirit world. I am a metaphysician. I do consider myself an extremely spiritual person. I believe in personal liberation and self-actualization, and I believe that that's the will for every last single soul, is to self-actualize for itself and to have an intimate experience with God, with consciousness, with self. And these are the things that make us whole, all in all. So I hope you guys are having a blessed Thursday. I will see you guys later.